So behind the scenes has taken the world by storm, and everyone is asking, how can we make behind the scenes more cinematic? And that's what this video is about. How to shoot cinematic behind the scenes. So let's get into it. Shooting behind the scenes is super broad. People don't know the world of behind the scenes comes with so much. But in this video, I want to talk specifically to those who want to make it a career. If this is something that you want to do as another part of your job, if you want to work with clients, if you want to shoot behind the scenes for music videos and commercials and films, this video is going to be for you. And I'm going to provide tips for y'all on how to enhance and create better behind the scenes and turn it into cinematic art, but also answer some questions that people had for me on my Instagram when I reached out and asked if they had any questions about behind the scenes. The first tip that I want to talk about before we get into anything is going to be prepping. It's equally as important shooting behind the scenes as it is shooting the film. And the reason why is because you are the fly on the wall, and you're going to be getting things that the film and the camera operators are not getting. They're there to shoot a script, and they're there to shoot a film or a commercial or whatever it is. You're there to get all the things that happen in order to make this film or project happen. And so your goal is to find those pockets that they're not going to get. The fun, the rawness of the talent, the behind the scenes of the camera and how they created this world with, all of rigging and all of the lighting, all of these things. So with that, prepping is so key. And the reason why is because you can't just go out there and shoot without asking all the questions that you need to ask. Talking to the client to figure out what kind of behind the scenes they're even looking for. There's various types of behind the scenes. Some can be more of documentary style, where you're not doing a lot of movement and they want to eventually create an EPK with the footage that you're going to shoot. It's more so an extension of the film that they're shooting. Another one can be the fast-paced social media type of behind the scenes, where you're probably going to put music up under it, and you really just want really fast. You want to be able to do this in 30 seconds and really just kind of have fun with it. And so when you go into prepping, you want to talk to the client and ask them what kind of behind the scenes that they're even looking for. Do they want more documentary style, or do they want more fast-paced, fast, trendy type of behind the scenes? And that'll allow you to know as you shoot how you should shoot, and then also how they're going to want the editing. And with that comes the type of gear that you're going to need. It's not the camera per se that matters, but also it's the specs. Do you want me to shoot S-Log or do you not? Some do, some don't. But also, is it a stabilizer or is it handheld? I've done both, and there's more times where I'm handheld than I am with a stabilizer. I don't really use a Ronin. Sometimes I'll take it depending on the details of what they want me to shoot. But I don't take it a lot because I do like the movement of handheld. I do like the flexibility that I get when handheld, when I can move wherever I need to move, and certain angles and just quick movements I can get that me using a Ronin, I cannot. And if I need to tuck into a place, it's harder for me to do with having a Ronin or any kind of stabilizer. And so again, you really have to go in and know what it is that the client wants, so you can know how to prep the gear that you need, how to prep your camera on tech specs that you need, and type of audio that you need. Which brings me to my next point that someone asked, do you always shoot with audio, and what kind of audio do you use? So I do have the Sony FX3 that I use to shoot behind the scenes, and it comes with an audio handle. Now with that, it has XLR ports, so I use a shotgun XLR mic. Now I've done a video about this previously that you can check out if you want to know the specific details of my kit. But not only do I use the shotgun mic, which is also by Sony, I think it's like the ECM VG1. They actually is discontinued, but it's actually such a good mic that I hate that they discontinued it. I think they maybe have a new one, but I have two just for safety because I love that mic. But not even just that, I also use a Sennheiser Professional Lavs. And the reason why is because if I'm using a shotgun mic, I'm using that for on set. The director might say action right next to me and I have a clean one. Or I'm next to talent and, I'm getting clean sound bites from them. But also the Sennheiser Lavs is connected to the sound mixer's whole shebang, and I'm getting that audio that they're actually using that they're recording. That clean audio I can also use because it's going directly into my FX3. So if I do need to cut something for them, I have really clean audio that they're using for their project that I'm also able to steal from them. And I don't have to ask anyone, can I get this audio? Can I get this soundbite? Because I have it. And I've learned to have more than one type of audio because when I was shooting on the Women King, my cable broke for my mic and I didn't know it, and I had no audio on a lot of really good shots. And so now I just try to make sure that I'm overly prepared so that it doesn't fall on you if anything happens. I just believe that having some kind of sound bites on set is just more ideal, and you can really create a story with that than just always using music.
Oh, man, whoa! Ah, thank you. Nope.
And if you're doing any kind of documentary type of behind the scenes, you need to have sound. You need to have a nice shotgun mic on your camera.
Cut! Day one, wrapped.
The second way to make your behind the scenes cinematic art is the fact that I look at this again as cinematography. Someone asked me, do you consider behind the scenes videography or filmmaking? And to me, when I shot for the Women King, I was called a behind the scenes camera operator. So I don't consider it either. I am a camera operator. And if you were to get in the union, they wouldn't call you a videographer or a filmmaker. You would essentially be probably making what the camera operators make, because you would be getting in the union as local 600. So I think this whole argument about videography and filmmaker doesn't matter in the bigger scheme of things as you continue to grow. It only matters for people who care about it. But for me, I'm a filmmaker, I'm a DP, and as long as the right people know that, that's all that really matters. And so I really go into behind the scenes looking through my cinematography eyes, being a DP. And what that means is I'm looking at composition, framing, I'm looking at my angles, I'm looking at light, I'm looking at all these things. Now, I can understand why people look at it as videography, because at the end of the day, you're pretty much being given a canvas that has already been created for you. You didn't light it yourself. You pretty much, nothing is up to you. The only thing that's up to you is how you perceive and how you want your viewers to see what it is that you see. For me, I look at everything that's given to me and then I just play on that. I can look at the lighting and be like, oh, I want to go on a shadow side. I want to play with a silhouette, or I want to play around with Rembrandt lighting. And you actually take a really close look at some of the shots from some of my work that I've done, you'll see how I play with lighting, how I play with shadows, how I play with contrast. And if you compare that to me as a DP and the things that I've shot as a DP, you'll see the correlation between me being a DP and me being a behind the scenes camera operator. Nothing is different, because I'm literally looking at them both as I got hired to shoot a film. Like, that's how I look at it. And so with that, whether I was able to come up with the lighting as a cinematographer or whether I wasn't and it's more a videographer, regardless, how can I still make this cinematic? It's like, really, how can I just make this super creative and fun, but also tell a story? Like, how can I tell a story? So whether it is documentary behind the scenes or more trendy, fast-paced behind the scenes, either way, I'm still making it to where it just looks like the film itself. So what I want to do is I want to get to some of the questions before I continue on, because I think these are going to allow me to answer questions that you all might have. Someone asked, how do you get longer shots if you can't be close to the action? Do you shoot 4K and crop in post? So I always shoot 4K. I mean, I shoot 4K as a cinematographer, but I always shoot 4K, but I don't shoot 4K with the intention of cropping. I shoot 4K because I want to be able to have the highest quality when I'm working on a 1920 by 1080 timeline. And sometimes I even export out 4K because I may be using it for my portfolio or something like that. But the intention is never to crop it in post. Now, the best way to get longer shots if you can't be close to the action is, one, getting a telephoto lens, maybe a 70-200. And this all comes down to, again, prepping. If you talk with them and they're like, hey, you're going to have to be far, ask these type of questions. Always come with like a 70-200. I think having a 16-35, 24-70, and a 70-200 are really great to have when you're shooting any kind of behind the scenes, because you're going to be ready for whatever. But the biggest thing that I'll say in my career is I've never had to not be close to the action. Even if I wasn't right up on them, I've always been close. And here's the main reason why. Your job is to get close to the crew, build relationship and friendship, get to know them because you're going to need them. You're going to need to be able to ask the AD, can I get into this closed set so I can get my shots? And the closer you are, the more they may say yes. But if they don't jeff with you, they might be like, nah, it's a closed set. Same thing with your camera operators. Wherever the camera operator is, they have their camera, which means they're close to the action and they're shooting. Go to the best and nearest camera operator for whatever shot that you want. Make sure you have a relationship with them, and then just like, hey, can I sit here next to you so I can get this shot? And so for me, I'm always trying to find, most times it's always more than one camera operator, but I'm always trying to figure out where can I hide, and can I hide by one of the camera operators, because if they're getting a shot, I can get the shot. And so with the Idea View, the film with Anne Hathaway, I got cool with all the camera operators. And, you know, they, over time, they really were like, oh, you can be here. You know, for this one, you can't be here because we have to do this. Like, they were giving me all the information I needed to know, you know, when I can get my shot, when I couldn't get my shot, where I could hide. Hey, you can hide over there because we're not going to see this area. You really kind of want to, like, get close to them, because that's going to determine, like, where you can really go to get the type of shots that you want. It really allows you to play in with the kind of angles and shot choices that you might want. So you really have to get in close with the camera team and the AD. The AD, that's important. You really got to get in close with that. It was a really good question that was asked to me on my Instagram, and I actually answered it on my Instagram, but I really want to answer it here as well. And it was, how do you see the behind the scenes landscape changing with trends and emerging tech like AI? Here's the thing. Behind the scenes has grown. Like I said earlier, people are shooting their everyday content behind the scenes. They're going on these brand trips shooting behind the scenes. And, you know, then people like me were actually shooting behind the scenes for clients and commercials and films. It is growing. People want to see how something was done. They want to learn and really get the details of how something was done, or how, you know, whatever, and not just get the finished product, because we've all been in this lifestyle where we see this amazing finished product where it looks like everyone is perfect, but there's so much that goes into that. So people like the behind the scenes. Now, I do not believe that AI can change behind the scenes. So anybody that shoots behind the scenes professionally, you're safe. And the reason why I say that is because AI cannot humanize people. It actually does the opposite of humanizing people. You go and you get a voiceover, you go and you create a trailer, a 30-second trailer using AI. I don't feel it. I don't feel the person crying. You know, it doesn't humanize anyone. And so I think that's a good thing about shooting behind the scenes, is that you get the rawness. You get to see the DP on set. You get to see the ACs rigging things up. You get to see talent maybe mess up and dance while they say cut. You get the rawness and the realness, and that humanizes everyone. And AI can never do that. And so for me, I never have an issue with, is AI going to affect behind the scenes? I don't believe it is, and I think that's one of the more safer avenues to go when it comes to being a filmmaker. Because like I said, you can go and literally use AI to do a whole commercial. And I've seen commercials where they're using AI now. But AI cannot humanize people, and so that still matters right now. And I think that will always matter, no matter the price. Someone asked, how do you become a behind the scenes shooter? Now, I can't speak for everyone on how they've done behind the scenes, but 9 times out of 10 is most likely who you know. My first job, my first job was actually in 2017, and I was shooting for a company called TV1, and I used to shoot all of their commercials. Then I started shooting behind the scenes on music videos, and all of that stemmed from one person. If you watch my video on moving to LA and how I became a filmmaker, you'll see that I had a mentor that I met on Craigslist named Eric. He was a celebrity photographer, and he actually threw my name out to the world in California, and that's how I got my jobs. That was word of mouth. I shot behind the scenes for him. We grew together as a team, and he told his other friends, her behind the scenes is dope. And then I literally just propelled from there, and people start calling me from behind the scenes. who you know. When I shot The Women King, it was actually through a guy named, I think, Jonathan Cruz, and he found me through Valentina. And so again, word of mouth. When I did The Idea of You, that came because the executive producer was the executive producer for The Women King, and again, she knew my work, and I was already hired for The Women King. All the commercials that I've done has been word of mouth. And so 9 times out of 10, it's gonna be word of mouth, but then also you need some work to just back that word of mouth up. So if it was always word of mouth and maybe I never showed any kind of behind the scenes, it may be like, okay, we may be able to give her a try, but they're gonna go for somebody who may have work to show, as well as that, you know, good word of mouth and good reputation. And so for me, I would say have a good body of work, and then have good reputation. Be nice to people. They'll remember you, and they'll, you know, if they love your work, they'll just throw your name out there in the jungle, in the world. What advice do you have for seeking out BTS/camera operator gigs? Again, like I said, it is really a word of mouth. So the best advice I can give you is reach out to people who you know are filmmakers and they're gearing up to shoot films. They're gearing up to create content, and ask them if you can do the behind the scenes for them. I live in LA. There's always somebody shooting. Atlanta always has people shooting. Chicago, New York, really just kind of reaching out, or even putting on your social, hey guys, I do BTS. If you ever need behind the scenes, let me know. The way I got into the behind the scenes industry back in the day, and this was in 2015, was when I met my mentor on Craigslist. I literally told him, if you ever need behind the scenes, let me know. And he took me on that offer, and I shot Lance Gross, and then I started shooting for TV One, and then I shot for his friend, and now I'm here. So had I not said, if you ever need behind the scenes, let me know, I probably wouldn't have went the path that I went to be shooting all the behind the scenes to get to where I'm at now. So closed mouths don't get fed. So open your mouth and let people know that you want to shoot behind the scenes, and go from there. So ultimately, this video is really just like, behind the scenes has really been more in the forefront lately. And people actually are looking forward to seeing behind the scenes more than they're actually looking forward to seeing the film or commercial or project itself, because again, it really does show you a true realness and rawness that you don't get from the film. And so with that, how can you turn this into a cinematic art piece? How can you use this behind the scenes to really bring people into a new world? Because at the end of the day, yes, behind the scenes is an extension of the project that you're shooting, but you also have this canvas where you can make it what you want to make it. And what, again, looking at it from a cinematography standpoint, what's the mood? What's the emotion? What do you want people to get out of this? The David Yurman project that we did, it was fast-paced, it was trendy. So I wanted people to feel like, oh, this is dope. It's basketball, it's black men. You know, we out here having a good time. It's, you know what I'm saying, like fun and, you know, lighthearted. When I shot behind the scenes for The Idea of You, that was more documentary based. So it was more, we're going to use this behind the scenes and put it in a bigger ultimate EPK, where we're going to have Anne Hathaway and have Nicholas answer questions, and we'll have the behind the scenes, and we can use the behind the scenes along with the actual things that we shot. And it was more of a documentary. So I wasn't running around shooting all these angles. I was placed when they said action and getting what I needed to get. And when they said cut, I will move to a different angle. And so it is one of these things where you have to figure out what type of behind the scenes that you want to do and how you want to show up in the world when it comes to that. I care about quality. I care about having full autonomy of my camera and what I want to do with it. And my ultimate goal with behind the scenes is to get into the union so I can shoot behind the scenes for some of these Marvel films or just these action-packed films, to really give you all a behind the scenes look of how they shoot these films. But some of your favorite films, I guarantee you, if they have behind the scenes attached with them, you would love the films even more. And so that is the goal. It is essentially a promotion of whatever project that you're shooting. And if you are a solo filmmaker and you're shooting behind the scenes of your daily life, well, at the end of the day, you might make a reel to where your life looks great, but that behind the scenes may show the more fun side of you. It may show when you might have had to shoot this 5,000 times before you got the perfect shot. And it humanizes us all. And that is the whole thing about shooting behind the scenes. How can you humanize and still make it look so beautiful in a way that it just doesn't even feel like behind the scenes? It feels like you're there. You're the fly on the wall. So hopefully this helped y'all. Let me know if you still have any questions. Behind the scenes is such a large scope. It's really hard to narrow down in one video. But hopefully I gave you all enough information that you can just take with it and run with it and go forth. But if you do have any questions, leave them down below and I will answer them as soon as I get them. And I love y'all. Thank y'all so much for supporting. And I'll see you all in the next video. All right? Bye.